Hey there, everybody. This is Steve Gamache for another Chef Knives to Go quick look product review. And what we have this time is the Kyohei Shindo Blue or Awagami number 2 Nakiri 165 millimeter knife. So this knife has 3-layer construction. It is all reactive. There's no stainless, semi-stainless, or anything on it. So the core cutting edge steel, which you can see peeking out from this frosted cladding right here. This is your cutting edge or your core steel. That is Awagami or blue paper number 2, reactive high carbon steel. The heat treat on that about 62 Rockwell. What they do is they put a soft iron cladding on either side of that core steel, and this cladding has what's known as a blacksmith or kudauchi protective finish on it. And then they've also put some lacquer over it as well. And that lacquer is a food safe lacquer, but that will start to wear off over time as you use it. The blade, again, is all reactive, so as long as when you're done with it, wash it, wipe it down really good so it's nice and dry, and then put it away, you'll be good. Just don't let it sit wet. You'll start to get a patina on this. Might take a little bit for the lacquer to start wearing off, and as it does, you'll start to gain a patina on there as you start using it. This knife is kind of a surprising one. Sometimes you get a real interesting knife this is a very good value. It's made extremely well. The grinds are super clean, and it's a very, very well made blade. It's got some hammering on it, so it's got some handcrafted look to it and feel, but it's extremely nicely made. Let's see, the construction we just took over that. Edge length is about 170 millimeters from the back of the heel to the kind of that curved part of the tip that's useful to cut with. And so it's got a little bit of length to it, which is cool. The overall length's about 320 millimeters or 12.6 inches. And the spine, I measured these in 3 spots on this one because it's pretty thick coming out of here, almost like thickens up, then thins down, but it gets pretty thin pretty quick. So I got about 4.5 millimeters at the back. Don't let that scare you. It thins up quickly. Halfway down, I got about little over 2.15, and then about an inch or so from the tip I got like 1.5. So this thing thins out quite a bit towards the front of the blade. Height, I measure these typically in 2 spots. So the back is about 52.3 millimeters, and at the middle it's about 53.3, so it gains just a little bit of height towards the middle of the blade. The handle is just pretty basic. It's a oval, what they call kyaki, kind of similar, looks kind of similar to, they call it it's like a Japanese elm. I looked that up a little bit, but it's almost looks a little bit like cherry, but it's got a nice warm finish to it. It's got a nice finish to the handle itself, but again, pretty basic handle. They slide a resin ferrule over the top of that, so you're going to get a step here that's normal. This particular one does have some gaps here where the tang goes into the handle, so I would recommend sealing that up with something. You don't want water to get down in there and start corroding and rusting down in there since it's an all reactive blade. So again, seal that up before you start using it, then you can wash it with the Blom and not worry about it. Let's see, out of the box edge, I'll give it about a 6 out of 10. It does have lacquer, which kind of comes down over the edge, so I did just a couple of passes on a honing rod, and it brought the edge back up. So this is your beauty shot from the right side. If we look a little closer, you'll see some embossed kanji symbol and such. You see your hammer mark, so it's got a lot of cool look to it. It's got almost what we call a nishiji or pear skin kind of mottled finish to it. But there's kind of your hammering texture. So every knife's going to be a little unique. You can probably see it's pretty. It's going to be a pretty flat profile. The fit and finish is actually pretty nicely done. It's got a little bit of relief on the spine, a little bit of relief on the choil here as it goes into the neck. So it's actually finished off pretty nicely. Balance point, let's not forget to do that. This handle's pretty light and the blade's a little bit longer, so there's your balance point, which it's actually good for a Nakiri. You want that weight forward balance to it for a little bit of cutting power. Let's see, I think that's about it. Let's take a look at the cutting board profile. So again, this thing has really clean grinds. It was a very straight blade. Nice fit and finish on it. It's actually, I'll need to go over that, but it's thin at the edge. I guess let's do that now. We got it here. But you'll see it's nice and thin at the edge there. So this will be a good performing knife. It's here's where the grind comes down. You got your sandblasted finish here, and then here's your coarse steel. You can see how thin that edge, because that steel peeks out pretty much, that coarse steel. But let's look at it on the cutting board. Nakiri's come in lots of different types of edge profiles. This particular one is pretty darn flat. So you've got a little bit of a rise in the first half of the blade up towards the front. Anytime you got a rounded tip on them, they'll rock pretty good, because you can just round that any way you want. And this will rock just fine. This particular one looks like it's got a little bit of a fulcrum right about there. My board's not necessarily pool table flat, but it's flat enough. And you can see a little bit of a fulcrum there. So definitely a pretty flat kind of style. So you'll have to kind of make sure to get fairly parallel to the cutting board on these. The flatter the Nakiri is, the more precise you've got to be with your cuts, so you're not doing this. So that's an exaggeration, of course. But anyway, so I was very impressed with the build on this, the quality, how clean the grinds were. This is a very, very high value knife, and if you're looking for a Nakiri, not want to spend a ton of money, plus you want to look at something that's going to be easy to sharpen, Aogami #2 is great. So this is a cool package. It's got a lot of character to it. So this is the Kyohei Shindo Aogami or Blue #2 Nakiri 165mm knife from Chef Knives to Go.